I'm Claire, a 26-year-old company employee who just turned 26. The company I work for is a reasonably large corporation. My parents are still alive, running a real estate development business in the city. It's a small company, but Dad's management has been successful, and we've lived a fairly wealthy life. Even during the recent pandemic turmoil, thankfully our business has remained stable, and we've managed to live peacefully. Now at my age, I'm starting to think about marriage. Actually, I have a boyfriend I met in a club during college, and we've been dating for a long time. Both of us thinking about marriage. His name is Trevor, 28 years old. His family is a well-known household in the countryside, and he's been living alone in Boston since college. He's kind and treasures me. I felt happy. However, there was one concern. It's just a rumor, but many say Trevor is a playboy. Since college, he had a reputation for being the center of attention, and when we started dating, even my friends expressed their worries. But he was my first boyfriend, and he was always kind and wonderful in front of me. Trevor being a playboy is just a rumor, right? Even if he was like that in the past, now he's only mine, so it doesn't matter. Maybe I was just naive, not listening to what others said. And finally, our marriage was decided. We had completed the engagement formalities, booked the wedding venue, and even figured out our new home, at the peak of happiness. One day, my college classmates and juniors gathered, and we had a lively girls-only party. The conversation, of course, turned to my upcoming marriage. Claire is the first among our classmates to get married. I sometimes think it's too early, but maybe it's just the right time, said Mila, my college classmate and close friend, munching on a vegetable stick. Really? I still want to have more fun, Chloe, another close friend, said as she swirled her glass of wine. Anyway, I'm worried about Trevor. Isn't he rumored to be a playboy? Are you sure about that? He's not, as Mila says. He's totally into me. Claire, you're such a child. You can't stay a dreamy girl forever, you know? Chloe strongly agreed with Mila. Is that so? But once we get married, he'll probably settle down, right? That's naive. Well, it's typical of you to be like a dreamy princess. There's even a rumor that there might be some ulterior motive for Trevor marrying you, you know? Don't say weird stuff, Mila. But, what's up, Zoe? Zoe chimed in, was a junior from the club, 2 years our junior. We got along well and always hung out together. I was hesitant to bring this up here, but Trevor is pretty close with Lucy, right? Lucy? Yes, she's my classmate who joined our sophomore retreat, even though she wasn't part of the club. After that, Trevor gave her a ride home, and they've been out for meals a few times. What? Isn't that like cheating? No, Mila. I know about that too. They're from the same hometown, and I heard he's been looking out for her as a senior. Well, if Claire's okay with it, I guess it's fine. I trust Trevor, so it's all good. Even though I said that, I couldn't shake off a feeling of unease. After that party, I met with Trevor. Hey, how's Lucy doing recently? What do you mean? She's just a normal friend. I heard from Zoe that you sometimes go out to eat with her. She's my high school junior, you know? It's great to meet her here, so I just did some senior-like things. Is that all? You're so suspicious. Is this the pre-wedding jitters? Still, isn't it weird to be close with another girl when we're about to get married? She's a junior. I'm looking out for her. You're the one for me. Trust me. Okay, I trust you. We parted ways that day, but my unease lingered. One day, Mila called me. I heard a weird rumor. A friend of mine's boyfriend works at the same company as Trevor. The other day, when I was drinking with that friend and her boyfriend, Trevor came up as your boyfriend, and it became a bit of a topic. And? It's not a good story. According to that friend's brother, Trevor seems to think Lucy is his real choice. No way. He supposedly said he's dating a rich girl, and if all things go well, he could marry into money. Your family's pretty wealthy, right? Are you okay with him saying that? That's definitely a lie. Trevor's not like that. I get you want to believe that, but you should be careful. I'm a bit worried, so I'll look into it. I'll let you know if I find anything. I appreciate your concern, but I trust Trevor. I want you to be happy. That's why I'm so serious. I don't want to doubt, but it's hard not to when you hear such stories. I wanted to believe in Trevor, but my anxiety was growing. Time passed amidst my worries. At home, I was organizing things, making notes of what could be used after the wedding, and what was still needed. I need to do some shopping. I have to discuss it with Trevor. As I thought about it, I couldn't help but smile. A modest but warm life. Just imagining it made me happy. Then the WhatsApp notification rang. It was from Mila. She sent a photo out of the blue. It showed Trevor walking closely with some woman. The place was a theme park I recognized. Looking closely, that woman was Lucy? I switched from texting to calling. I was at the theme park with friends and saw Trevor. He was with Lucy. Did you know about this? No, I didn't. He said he had to work today. So much for working on a holiday. Do you still trust Trevor? Yes, I trust him. There might be some reason I don't know about, and Lucy is just a junior from his hometown. I don't see anything suspicious. Well, if you say so, Claire, but I find it suspicious. Mind if I look into it more? Sure, but Mila, are you against my marriage? Not at all. It's just Trevor's actions that are suspicious. Would he really go to a theme park alone with a junior without telling you? I'll ask him about it tonight. No, you shouldn't say anything. This was just something I stumbled upon. It'll complicate things if you bring it up. Okay. I'll look into it a bit more. If there's nothing, that's it. If there is, we'll just laugh at Trevor's mistake. That won't be necessary. Yeah, you're the princess. But you have to face reality. While I appreciate Mila's concern, my unease about Trevor's actions grows. Should I keep trusting him like this? Mila's activities became more frantic. She communicated less with me and seemed to be in constant contact with someone. Knowing Mila's character, I'm sure it's not anything weird. I'm not worried, but curious about what she's up to. Trevor, my fiancé, has been busy with work lately. He was appointed the deputy leader of a new project. He said he'd be on a business trip for a while, working on site with the client's company. We won't see each other for a bit. Well, it's work, and it should be done before the wedding, so hang in there. I'll miss you too. With that, Trevor left for his business trip. Trevor lives alone, in an apartment contracted by his company. It must be inconvenient for him. Thinking so, I visited his apartment on my day off. Assuming he wouldn't eat properly alone, I planned to cook, clean, and do his laundry. It had been 2 weeks since we last met, but we rejoiced at our reunion. We went shopping at a nearby supermarket and cooked together. I kicked him out of the room to clean and do laundry. I thought a man's solo living space would be messy, but it was surprisingly tidy. Unexpectedly, he was quite organized, making me think housework would be easy after marriage. I smiled mischievously at the thought. While I was pondering, I noticed something in the corner of the room. It looked like an umbrella. It had pink frills and cute rabbit patterns. I picked it up and examined it closely. Obviously, it wasn't his, nor mine. Just then, the front door opened and Trevor came back. Man, killing time alone outside is quite hard. Ended up reading manga at a comic cafe. I bought your favorite cheesecake from a famous local patisserie. He said as he came in, but his expression changed when he saw the umbrella in my hands. Claire, that's... He started to panic. Trevor, what's this about? Surely you're not going to say it's yours, right? I remember now. It's Mom's. She left it here when she stayed over last week. I've been looking for it. Your mom uses an umbrella with little bunnies on it? Well, you know Mom. Still acts young and loves character stuff. This is the umbrella of a woman who prefers simple and sophisticated things, huh? Yeah, that's right. We have a lot of these at home. She loses her judgment when trying to look young. I see. Your mom is quite youthful. Yeah, that's right. Dad and I are always saying it's embarrassing. Hey, Trevor. What is it? Even when I get old and turn into an auntie, will you still love me? Of course. Even if you turn into an auntie, even if your body fat exceeds 40%, my love won't change. You're saying too much, but okay. After that conversation, Trevor let out a huge sigh for some reason. A while after that, Mila invited me on a trip. It was a surprise visit to Trevor's business trip location. I was immediately on board with the idea. I quickly got ready and met Mila at the station. Mila, you're quite the strategist to think of this. Well, I'll always be like this. So we decided to enjoy our childish adventure. Arriving at the nearest station and passing through the ticket gate, Mila suddenly said, "Isn't that Lucy? What a coincidence to see her here." Mila, and what, Claire too? Hello, long time no see, but why are you here? I like traveling alone and came here for sightseeing. Lucy's face turned pale. Oh, what a coincidence, huh? Mila gave a sly smile full of implication. Well, it must be fate. How about having lunch together? You're okay with that, right, Claire? I don't mind, but... I'd love to, but I have plans after this. Lucy was trembling. Plans? Like meeting someone? No, not that. I have a travel itinerary and some sightseeing spots I want to visit. Let's go together then. We have no plans. Let us accompany you. But that's... Don't say that. It's always good to have company on a journey, right? We'll treat you to lunch, so it's decided. With persuasive words, Mila half forced us along, quickly taking action and leading the way. Lucy kept looking back towards the station. During the meal, she seemed to receive several calls on her mobile phone and stepped out occasionally. Mila asked, What's up? Something urgent? No, it was just a confirmation call from the hotel I've booked for today. Already booked, huh? Maybe we should stay there too. What? Why not spend the night together, 3 of us, and have a girls' night in? I'm fine with it, but wouldn't that be a bother to Lucy? No, I don't mind. There's nothing, suspicious about it. Then it's settled. Lucy, can you check with the hotel? Urged by Mila, Lucy rebooked the reservation for 3. That night, we had a fun girls' night in. Though Lucy seemed a bit off. Was she just tired? Mila can be pushy, so it's no surprise. The next day, Lucy said she wanted to go alone, and left after checking out. Before noon, we went to Trevor's company and caught him coming out for lunch. Trevor was surprised by our sudden visit, and I sensed a bit of feigned reaction. He seemed happy at first, but then became sullen. I wondered if I had upset him. On the plane back, I was down, but Mila, having drunk 3 beers, seemed strangely happy. When I asked, she said, This is a reward for myself. Scary how well things are going. I didn't quite understand, but that's Mila for you. Lately, I've been helping Dad with computer work he's not good at in between my job. Dad has been sharing even confidential matters with me, making me quite knowledgeable about the industry. One day I noticed Dad distressed over some papers at his office. What's wrong? A confidential acquisition deal got leaked.
and another company beat us to it.
The Cambridge building?
Yeah, I told you about it. We were about to proceed, having secured the funding.
I remembered mentioning this property to Trevor when we passed it on a date. Once I casually mentioned this to Mila over tea. The real estate business is tough, huh? Yeah, Dad always says the basic of business is to buy low and sell high. Which company took over the deal? I think it was Davis Craft Ventures Limited. They're a major player in the industry, unstoppable once they start moving. Davis Craft Ventures Limited? Huh? Could it be? Mila seemed deep in thought. What's up? Do you know something about Davis Craft Ventures Limited? I have a favor to ask. Can you feed Trevor some false information? False information to Trevor? Yes. Tell him that Dad is eyeing a low-quality property with no real asset value as a potential profit maker. I'm not sure about this. Is there a reason? I have some clues and hunches. If I'm right, this could be quite a spectacle. I'm reluctant, but if you say so, I'll try. Then one day, Dad and I talked about a problematic property, a building with no asset value, but made to look profitable. During a date with Trevor, I casually mentioned, "This building seems to have incredible asset value. Dad is thinking of acquiring it." His demeanor changed abruptly.
"Need to make a call,"
he said and walked away. Later,
"Some fool bought that problematic property. It's Davis Craft Ventures Limited. That'll be an expensive lesson. Ha ha ha. Whoever handled it is in for a scolding. Ha 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 ha."
Dad said that, explaining the situation.
"That building is old and doesn't meet seismic standards. It'd require significant renovation to sell. I wouldn't buy it."
Indeed, a professional's eye is different. After that, Trevor seemed down. He only mentioned,
"I messed up at work and got scolded by my boss."
He looked like a child scolded by a parent. I told Mila about this, and she said sternly, "Claire, you shouldn't speak lightly about work matters. It's unprofessional to casually discuss work, even if you don't realize it." Why am I being scolded? I did tell Trevor about Dad's work, but Trevor messes up at work, gets scolded by his boss, and I get scolded by Mila. I didn't fully understand, but as a professional, I thought I should be more careful about compliance. Then the day before my wedding with Trevor arrived. Planning to go to bed early for the big day, I got a call from Mila. "Hey, finished your last supper? Tomorrow's the big day." "You're okay with doing the friend's speech tomorrow, right?" "Yes, just finished writing it. It was quite a task." "Oh, was it that difficult? Sorry." "No, it was actually fun. Tomorrow will be unforgettable for you." Kind of scary, but looking forward to it. Then, on the big day, as the bride and groom, we were the main focus, but we were constantly pulled here and there. Before I knew it, it was time for the toast. There were the usual family speeches, and a brief time for mingling. As I was at the head table, relatives and friends poured us drinks and offered their congratulations. Amidst all this, Mila whispered in my ear, "Honestly, I'm against this marriage, so I'm going to ruin the ceremony." What are you talking about? Her shocking confession left me frozen. "Listen, you'll understand once you hear what I have to say. He's a real villain. You might not see it, but I've done my research and know his true nature. I'll protect you, trust me." "What do you mean?" "Just watch from here. I've got everything prepared." Mila smirked and returned to her seat. Confused, I watched as the reception proceeded, and it was time for the friend's speech. Prompted by the smooth introduction of the MC, Mila took the microphone. "Claire, congratulations, but I have mixed feelings." The room fell silent at Mila's suggestive words. "Trevor, the groom, you met the bride and me in the same college club. When I found out the two of you were dating, I supported you, hoping you'd take good care of my best friend." Mila continued, surveying the silent room. But Trevor? No. I have something to say to everyone here. Raising her voice suddenly, Mila captured the attention of the room. The one you truly love isn't Claire beside you, but her. Pointing to a woman in the room. It was Lucy. Her name is Lucy Davis. She's the daughter of the president of Davis Craft Ventures Limited, a rival to Claire's dad's company, a much bigger company than Claire's dad's. They've been trying to outdo Claire's dad's company. Lucy Davis of Davis Craft Ventures Limited revealed, listened to Mila's words with a stunned face. Trevor was sweating, dampening the frills of his dress shirt. The groom, while dating the bride, also had a relationship with Lucy. Yes, he continued his relationship with the bride to gain inside real estate information, which he then passed to Davis Craft Ventures Limited, giving them an advantage. It's no wonder the bride's dad's company has been underperforming lately, with Trevor the spy feeding information through the bride to Davis Craft Ventures Limited. On the day itself, my dad was in shock at Mila's revelation. The idea that his daughter's fiancé was a spy for a business rival was unthinkable. Trevor planned to marry the wealthy bride, live a rich life, crush Claire's dad's company for a decent sum, then divorce her. His real intention was to marry Lucy and secure a high position at Davis Craft Ventures Limited. Initially, I suspected Trevor of cheating, but further investigation revealed his despicable plan. As Claire's best friend, I must stop this wedding. Mila passionately made her case in tears. The hall was silent, everyone's eyes on Trevor and Lucy. Breaking the silence was my dad. He went to the MC and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the turn of events. The parties involved, including the bride and groom and their families, are in shock. We will make a formal apology later, but for now, we must end this reception. I am deeply sorry." After his announcement, he bowed deeply. One by one, guests started leaving. I watched it all as if it were happening to someone else. I couldn't cry. Back in the dressing room, with my parents by my side, I silently began to pack up. At home in my room, the tears finally came. No resentments towards Mila. She saved me. The tears were because of Trevor. He would surely face consequences. I believed that. Afterward, Trevor faced a difficult time and misfortune, as what goes around comes around. At the reception, his colleagues and friends were present, which led to his demotion at work. He had personal relationships with female co-workers and felt compelled to quit. The disgrace at the wedding caused resentment from invitees, leading to demands for gift returns and compensations. Naturally, our engagement ended, and Trevor had to pay me a breach of contract compensation. His family sold their house and land, but it wasn't enough, so he borrowed from dubious lenders to settle the payments. As for Lucy, exposed as my husband's cheating partner, her father's company's reputation sank, and he was ousted at a shareholders' meeting. Ultimately, they divorced. Trevor was forced into a part-time job in the countryside, and Lucy returned to her parents, working in a local factory. Later, I forgave Mila for her disruption at the reception and expressed my gratitude. Blue sea, wide sandy beach, the sun stinging the skin. Now, I'm in the Bahamas with Mila and Chloe. My dad, grateful for Mila's courage at the toast, funded a trip for the three of us. What a great place. I feel like I can forget all the unpleasant things. I'm glad you're feeling better, Claire. It was hard for me to confess at the wedding. I'm grateful to you, Mila. I can't imagine what would have happened if I had married Trevor. I helped with the investigation too, so a little gratitude would be nice, said Chloe. Yes, Chloe, you did great too. Both of you are my precious friends. But marriage? I don't want to go through such trouble, Mila said. If it's with someone you truly love, a little hardship is bearable, Chloe replied. This experience has taught me a lot. I can't be a princess anymore. It's important to cherish each other, right? I said, sounding wise. Let's take our time finding the right person. No jumping ahead, okay? Hey, Chloe, what are you looking at? Oh, just noticing that group of 3 Americans over there. The one in the middle is kind of my type. Right, Mela? Interesting. Maybe we should say hi. Don't you dare. We had a fun time together. Though it started as a heartbroken trip to Hawaii, the tropical sun revived my spirits. Despite the pain, I grew stronger. After this trip, I feel like I can start anew. On a lazy Hawaiian afternoon, I reassured myself in a dreamlike state.
My name is Camila. I was a fresh college graduate, my life brimming with possibilities and dreams, when a single phone call snuffed out my joy like a gust of wind extinguishing a candle. It was a call that brought the news of my parents' tragic death in a car accident. The 2 people who had been my pillars of strength, my guiding lights, were suddenly gone. The shock of it was like a punch to the gut. I was a grown woman, yes, but I was just starting to navigate the adult world. My parents had been my safety net, my guides. Their sudden absence left me feeling like a ship adrift in a stormy sea. My father, with his hearty laughter and endless wisdom, was my hero. He was a man of strength and kindness, always ready with a word of advice or a comforting hug. I remember our long walks in the park, our deep conversations about everything from philosophy to the latest football game. He was my rock, my safe harbor in the stormy sea of life. My mother, with her gentle nature and unwavering support, was my best friend. She was the one who held my hand during scary movies, who stayed up late helping me with school projects, who was always there with a comforting word and a warm hug. Her love was a constant, soothing presence in my life. Their absence left a gaping hole in my life, a void that seemed impossible to fill. The house felt too quiet, too empty without their laughter and love filling it. Every corner was a reminder of them, every object a memory. In the midst of my grief, a man named Richard appeared. He was a worker at a trading company who happened to be at the scene of the accident. He had provided a witness statement, and he felt compelled to reach out to me, to offer his support. "Camila," he said, his voice filled with sincerity, "I can't express how sorry I am for your loss. I saw what happened. It's not fair, and it's not right. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask." His words, though simple, were a lifeline in the storm of my grief. Richard became a steady presence in my life, helping me navigate the legalities of the accident, the insurance claims, the mountain of paperwork that seemed to multiply every day. His support was invaluable, his kindness a balm for my aching heart. As the weeks turned into months, Richard and I grew closer. Our conversations grew longer, our silences more comfortable. One day, he took a deep breath, looked me in the eye, and said, "Camila, I've come to care about you a lot. More than I've cared about anyone else. Would you consider marrying me?" I was taken aback, but I looked into his eyes and saw the sincerity there. I thought about the comfort he had provided, the strength he had shown. And I said yes. I said yes to a new beginning, yes to a new chapter in my life. The wedding was a blur of joy and laughter, a day filled with hope and promise. After the celebrations, Richard and I moved into his house that was as grand as it was cold. The house was a testament to Richard's success, a symbol of the wealth he had amassed in his trading business. I was awestruck by its grandeur, but I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that crept over me each time I stepped into its marble halls. Soon after the move, I discovered I was pregnant. The news filled me with a sense of joy and anticipation. I dreamed of our child, of the life we would provide for him. Richard seemed pleased as well, but there was a hardness in his eyes that I couldn't quite understand. Our son, Max, was born on a clear winter morning. He was a beautiful baby, with Richard's dark hair and my bright blue eyes. Holding him in my arms, I felt a love so profound, so overwhelming, it took my breath away. Richard, too, seemed smitten with our son. But as the weeks turned into months, I noticed a change in him. One day, Richard came home late from work, his face set in a grim line. "Camila," he said, his voice devoid of its usual warmth, "we need to talk about our expenses." I was taken aback. "What about them?" I asked, feeling a knot of worry form in my stomach. He threw a stack of bills on the table, his expression stern. "They've gone up, Camila," he said, his voice cold. "Ever since Max was born, we're spending much more than we used to." I felt my heart sink. "But Richard," I said, "we have a baby now. Babies need things." He shot me a hard look. "That's not the point, Camila," he said. "You're spending too much. On things we don't need." I was stunned. "I'm spending on our son, Richard," I said, my voice rising in defense. "On his needs." His face hardened. "I'm the one who's earning, Camila," he said, his voice harsh. "I'm the one who's supporting this family. You should be more grateful." His words hit me like a punch in the gut. I felt a mixture of anger and hurt well up inside me. I had thought Richard was my partner, my ally. But his words made it clear that he saw me as a liability, an additional expense that he had to bear. The days following our heated exchange were filled with tension. Richard became more stringent about our budget, scrutinizing every receipt, every purchase. He was relentless in his accusations of my alleged overspending, despite my best efforts to economize. "Camila," he'd say, his voice dripping with condescension, "you need to understand the value of money." "Richard, we need food," I'd say. "And Max needs diapers." We can't just stop buying them. He'd look at me, his eyes hard and cold. Then figure it out, Camila. Make do with less. I'd bite my tongue, holding back the retort that was on the tip of it. It wasn't that I didn't understand the value of money, it was that Richard seemed to value it more than he did his own family. Food shopping became a game of strategy. I'd scour the aisles for the cheapest products, calculate the cost per meal, per person. I'd choose the store brands over the name brands, the bruised apples over the pristine ones. I'd walk miles to the store and back, foregoing the cost of public transport, to save a few dollars. Richard's decree extended to clothing as well. No new clothes, he'd said, his voice firm, unyielding. Make do with what you have. I looked at my worn-out wardrobe, the frayed edges of my dresses, the faded colors of my shirts. I felt a pang of sadness. I wasn't asking for designer clothes or expensive jewelry. Just something new, something that hadn't been worn to threads. One day, I saw a beautiful little jumper for Max in a store window. It was on sale, but even then, it was more than I could afford. I walked away, my heart heavy. When I got home, Richard was there. You were at the store, weren't you? Buying more stuff we don't need. I didn't buy anything, Richard, I said, my voice steady. I can't. You've made sure of that. He scoffed. Don't play the victim, Camila. You're the one who can't control her spending. I looked at him, my heart pounding. I'm trying to provide for our son, Richard. Can't you see that? He got up, his face red. I'm the one providing for this family, Camila. You're just spending my money. I felt a surge of anger. Your money? Richard, we're a family. It's our money. He laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Oh, Camila. You're so naive. I stood my ground, my hands clenched. No, Richard. I'm not naive. I'm just trying to do what's best for our son. He glared at me. And I'm trying to save us from bankruptcy. But you wouldn't understand that, would you? With that, he stormed out of the room, leaving me standing there, my heart aching. All the while, I noticed Richard's lifestyle remained unchanged. He still wore his designer suits, still splurged on expensive gadgets. He'd come home with a new phone, a new laptop, a new watch, while I was left to mend old clothes and ration our meals. Richard, I'd say, trying to keep the bitterness out of my voice, how come you get to buy new things, but I can't? He'd look at me, a smug smile on his face. Because I earn the money, Camila. I get to decide how it's spent. His words stung, a slap in the face. I was his wife, the mother of his child, but he treated me like a burden, like an unwanted expense. His greed was clear, his arrogance palpable. He valued his gadgets more than he valued us. It was a Tuesday when Max came down with a fever. His little body was hot to the touch, his eyes were red from crying. I knew I had to get him medicine, and quick. I rummaged through the cupboards, my heart sinking when I saw them bare. We were out of money, out of options. I did the only thing I could. I took the last of our cash, the money I'd been saving for Richard's favorite steak, and bought medicine for Max. I knew Richard would be mad, knew he'd be furious. But Max was more important. He was my son, my baby. I couldn't let him suffer. When Richard came home that night, he was in a foul mood. He'd had a long day at work, he said, and all he wanted was a good meal. When he saw the empty table, his face turned red. Camila, he said, his voice low and dangerous, where's my dinner? I swallowed hard. Max was sick, I said. I used the money to buy him medicine. Richard's eyes narrowed. You what? I bought medicine for Max, I repeated, my voice steady despite the fear in my heart. Richard slammed his fist on the table. You spent my money on medicine for that brat? I flinched at his words. Max is our son, Richard. He was sick. Richard scoffed. He's always sick. Always needing something. Just like you. I felt a surge of anger. We're your family, Richard. We're not freeloaders. Richard stood up, his face contorted with rage. You're nothing but a burden, Camila. You and that kid. All you do is take. I stood my ground. We're your responsibility, Richard. You can't just abandon us. Richard laughed, a harsh, cruel sound. Watch me. And with that, he grabbed my arm, yanked me to the door. Get out, he said, his voice cold. Take your brat and get out. I looked at him, my heart pounding. Richard, please. He's sick. We have nowhere to go. Richard's gaze was icy. Not my problem. He shoved us out the door, slamming it shut behind us. 5 minutes later, he threw a bag of our clothes at my feet. I stood there, holding Max in my arms, the cold seeping into my bones. I looked at the house, our house, now a fortress we were barred from. That was the final straw. I knew then that I couldn't stay with Richard, couldn't subject Max to his cruelty. We deserved better, deserved a life free of his anger, his greed. So, I walked away, Max clutched in my arms, our future uncertain. But I knew one thing for sure. I would fight for us, fight for a better life. Richard had pushed us away, but he couldn't break us. We were stronger than he thought, stronger than he'd ever know. The city was vast and overwhelming, a concrete jungle where I knew no one. My son, Max, was just a toddler, too young to understand the dire situation we were in. With no money, no friends, and no home, I felt like a ship adrift in a stormy sea. That's when I remembered Grandma. My father's mother, a woman I had seen only once in my life, came to mind. Dad had a strained relationship with her and they had lost contact many years ago. I barely remembered her face, but I remembered the house she lived in, a large, old structure nestled in a quiet town far from the city's bustle. I had no choice but to take a leap of faith. With the last of my money, found in the pocket of my old jacket, I bought 2 intercity bus tickets. Max and I boarded the bus, our future uncertain but our resolve firm. The journey was long, and Max, feeling unwell, whimpered in my arms. I held him close, whispering soothing words, promising a better future. We arrived at Grandma's town as the sun was setting. The large, old house stood just as I remembered, a beacon of hope amidst our turmoil. Gathering my courage, I walked up to the door and knocked. The door creaked open, and there stood Grandma. She was older than I remembered, her face stern and her eyes sharp. She looked at me, a hint of confusion in her eyes. Yes, she asked, her voice firm. I swallowed my fear and introduced myself. Grandma, it's me, Camila. I'm your son's daughter. She squinted at me, studying my face. After a moment, recognition dawned on her. You have your father's eyes, she said, her voice softer. She opened the door wider, inviting us in. We stepped into the house, its warmth a stark contrast to the cold outside. I told Grandma everything about Richard, about Max's illness, about our eviction. I poured out my fears and worries, the burdens I had been carrying alone for so long. Grandma listened, her face hardening as I mentioned Richard. "That scoundrel," she spat, her eyes flashing with anger. "He'll get what he deserves." In that moment, I felt a surge of relief. Here was someone who believed in me, someone who was on my side. Grandma offered us a place to stay, a place to call home. We were no longer alone, we had Grandma. That night, as Max slept soundly in a warm bed and I sat by the fire with Grandma, I felt a glimmer of hope. The journey to Grandma's was fraught with uncertainty and fear, but it led us to a safe haven. It was our first step towards a new life, a life away from Richard's shadow. The attic was a dusty, forgotten place, filled with boxes upon boxes of old stuff. Grandma hadn't been up there in years, and it showed. The air was thick with the smell of old paper and mothballs, and the floor creaked under my weight. "Be careful, Camila," Grandma called from the bottom of the stairs. "It's been ages since anyone's been up there." I nodded, my eyes scanning the room. As a person trained as a restorer, I could see the potential in the discarded items. There were old furniture pieces, paintings, knickknacks, all covered in a thick layer of dust. It was like stepping into a time capsule, a glimpse into the past. With Grandma's permission, I started working on the items. I cleaned, repaired, and restored them, bringing them back to life. Each piece had a story to tell, a history to uncover. It was a labor of love, a way to keep my mind off the troubles of the past. Days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, the attic was transformed. The old, discarded items were now beautiful antiques, their value increased tenfold. I took some of them to a local antique store, hoping to make a small profit. The owner, a man named Mr. Peterson, was surprised by the quality of the items. "These are fantastic, Camila," he said, his eyes wide. "Where did you find them?" "In my grandma's attic," I replied, a smile playing on my lips. She had no idea what she was sitting on. Mr. Peterson laughed, shaking his head in disbelief. "Well, she's a lucky woman to have a granddaughter like you." I blushed, thanking him for his kind words. He bought all the items, giving me a hefty sum of money. I was stunned. I had hoped for a small profit, but this was beyond my wildest dreams. When I returned home, Grandma was waiting for me. "How did it go?" she asked, her eyes hopeful. I showed her the money, her eyes widening in surprise. "Oh my, Camila," she said, her voice shaky. "I can't believe it." I shrugged, trying to hide my excitement. "It's all thanks to you, Grandma. These are your treasures, after all." We celebrated that night, a small victory in our battle for a better life. The attic treasures were more than just old items. They were a reminder that even in the darkest times, there is always a glimmer of hope. From then on, I continued to restore the items in the attic. Each piece brought us closer to our goal, each sale a step towards our new life. The attic treasures were our lifeline, our saving grace. And we were grateful for them, for the hope they brought us, for the future they promised. Richard, that good-for-nothing, hadn't bothered to check on us. Not even a call to ask about his son. I guess he was too busy with his new life, too busy to care about the family he left behind. But we weren't going to let him off the hook that easily. Grandma had a friend, a lawyer named Stan. He was a tough old bird, sharp as a tack, and he didn't take any nonsense. "We'll get that bastard," he promised, his eyes hard. "He won't get away with this." With Stan's help, we filed a claim for child support. Richard was furious when he found out. He called me, his voice a venomous hiss. You'll regret this, Camila, he threatened. You don't know what you're getting into. But I wasn't scared. Not anymore. Bring it on, Richard, I shot back. We'll see who regrets it in the end. The day of the court hearing arrived. Richard strutted in, all puffed up like a peacock, his lawyer by his side. He sneered at me, his eyes cold and hard. But I didn't flinch. I was ready for him. Stan presented our case, his voice steady and firm. He talked about Max, about how Richard had abandoned us, about how he hadn't paid a dime for his son's upkeep. The judge listened, his face impassive. Then it was Richard's turn. His lawyer was smooth, his words slick. He painted Richard as the victim, as a man wronged by his vindictive ex-wife. But we had a trump card. I played a recording of Richard's tirade the night he kicked us out. He didn't know about it, and I decided to surprise him. His threats, his cruel words, all for the court to hear. The room fell silent as his voice filled the air, his true nature exposed for all to see. Richard's face turned pale, his confident facade crumbling. The judge frowned, his eyes hard. This court will not tolerate such behavior, he said, his voice stern. Mr. Jackson, you will pay child support as required by law. You also have to pay for the emotional abuse of your ex-wife and son. Richard was stunned. He looked at me, his eyes full of disbelief. But I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The look on his face was victory enough. After the court hearing, Richard tried to worm his way back into our lives. He called me, his voice all sweet and smooth, like honey dripping from a spoon. Camila, he said, let's start over. For Max's sake. I laughed, a bitter, cynical laugh. Start over? With you? I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. No, Richard. We're done. I could hear the surprise in his voice. But Camila, he stammered, you need me. You can't survive without my money. That's where he was wrong. I had a job now, a good job. I was a restorer, working for a local antique store and a museum. I was making good money, enough to support Max and me. And with Grandma's help, we were doing just fine. I don't need you, Richard, I said, my voice steady. I've got a job. A good job. And Max and I are doing just fine. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Richard laughed, a harsh, bitter laugh. You? Working? I don't believe it. Well, you better start believing it, I shot back. Because it's true. And guess what, Richard? I'm not just surviving. I'm thriving. There was more silence. Then Richard hung up, his parting words a venomous hiss. You'll regret this, Camila. You'll see. But I wasn't scared. Not anymore. I had found my strength, my independence. And there was no going back. The next few months were a whirlwind. I was busy with work, with Max, with life. But I was happy. Truly, genuinely happy. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. Free from Richard, free from fear, free from uncertainty. Grandma was proud of me. You did good, kid, she said one day, her eyes twinkling. You stood up for yourself. You took control of your life. I smiled, feeling a sense of pride. Thanks, Grandma, I said. I couldn't have done it without you. And that was the truth. Grandma had been my rock, my support. She had stood by me, had helped me find my strength. And for that, I was grateful. The sweet taste of victory was more than just a court win. It was a personal victory, a testament to my strength, my resilience. It was a reminder that I was more than just Richard's ex-wife. I was a survivor, a fighter, a mother, a restorer. And as I looked at Max, his eyes bright with laughter, his face full of joy, I knew I had made the right choice. I had chosen to fight, to stand up for myself, for my son. And I had won.
Her mom friends. We locked eyes, and not wanting to be rude, I greeted her. Hello, Sarah. Oh, hi there. I was in a rush and moved on after the brief exchange, but later that night she called my home. What on earth do you think you're doing? She snapped at me, her tone extremely aggressive from the get-go. Huh? What do you mean? Earlier today, don't you dare approach me in public dressed like that. What's with your work outfit? I can't believe you would walk around outside looking like that. Did you see us? It's only proper to look presentable, even if you have nothing special going on. We're all mom friends who are preparing our kids for private school entrance exams. We live in a different world from you. Oh, I was so embarrassed. She launched into a tirade without pause. Well, I was working, so I was indeed in my work clothes, I replied. I don't care about that. Just don't approach me anymore when we meet outside, okay? It's embarrassing. But isn't that even stranger? We're family after all. That's what I've been trying to tell you, haven't I? You're just not fitting for the family. Just so you know, I've never considered you a sister-in-law. She hung up abruptly, leaving me stunned. She really went out of her way to call and vent her feelings. Although she consistently complained about me at family gatherings, what's worse is that she only reveals her true colors when we're alone. She prides herself in being a fashionable, high-class woman from a wealthy family. It's fine if she enjoys that. What I don't understand is her constant need to attack me, simply because I don't align with her preferences. Yes, she always dresses elegantly in sports accessories, but why does she need so many? I wonder if her quiet husband, my brother-in-law, lets her shop as much as she wants. He probably doesn't even know about this side of her. It's just who she is. I've kept silent about this to my brother-in-law and mother-in-law, but I did let my husband in on it, as it was becoming a source of stress. Huh? She doesn't seem like that. He initially shrugged it off. A few days later, my mother-in-law called me. There was a family dinner coming up over the weekend, and she wanted to let me know the time and place. We each live about 30 minutes away by car. Normally, she doesn't interfere with her son's household. However, she insists on gathering the entire family for my father-in-law's birthday, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. This time, it was because my father-in-law's birthday was approaching. This time, we managed to reserve a private room at his favorite steakhouse. It's our first time going there as a family, but it's really good. I hope you're looking forward to it. Oh, I am, thank you. While I was genuinely excited, I dreaded seeing my sister-in-law again. You don't sound very enthusiastic. Are you busy at work? Oh, I'm okay. I'm perfectly fine. Uh-oh, had my voice betrayed my feelings? I hurriedly reassured her. Karen, if there's anything bothering you at home, please let me know, okay? Our home? We're managing just fine, even when work runs late. You help us out. I really appreciate all you do for us. It's not about your family, though. Huh? I was puzzled, not understanding what she meant. Then the weekend came, and with it, the dinner party. It was my father-in-law's birthday celebration, a chance to express our gratitude for my father-in-law and mother-in-law. I resolved to celebrate wholeheartedly, and not to let my spiteful sister-in-law get to me. I left home early, and when I walked into the private room at the restaurant, I sighed with relief as my father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law had not yet arrived. I'd come early as to not keep my father-in-law waiting on his birthday celebration, and also because the less time I spent with Sarah, the better. However, my brother-in-law and Sarah showed up right after I did. Hello. Hi, Karen. Richard, it's nice to see you. After we exchanged greetings, my husband and brother-in-law started talking. Sarah, on the other hand, swiftly came over to me and looked me up and down before sighing. What are you wearing? For such an upscale restaurant, you could at least dress a bit nicer. How many times do I have to tell you? The demeaning comments started as usual, only in a lower tone. Is this really the time or place for that? I clenched my teeth and forced a smile. I chose this dress thinking about the occasion. Is it inappropriate? I mean, it's not from a high-end brand or anything. It's quite surprising you could show up in such a cheap outfit. You, despite being a woman, have such broad shoulders that the dress doesn't suit you. And your accessories? Just a wedding ring? You never wear nail polish either, and your hands look rough. I can't wear nail polish for my job. Isn't it inconvenient to do household chores with such long nails, Sarah? My job involves working with wood and soil in addition to household chores, so my hands tend to get rough. Not being able to wear nail polish was not something I was concerned about. Compared to the average woman, my masculinity is a testament to my hard work as a gardener. These hands, these shoulders, they are my pride. Yet she belittles them, and I couldn't help but retort. What did you say? Are you suggesting that I don't do housework? Perhaps my rebuttal did sit well with her. Sarah's voice grew louder. I really can't stand you. I've been trying to help you out of kindness, but you never listen, and now you're resisting? It's unbearable to be lumped in with a rough woman like you. I messed up. My sister-in-law seemed to be losing sight of her surroundings in her anger. This is my father-in-law's celebration today. Please don't bother me. Huh? You're the one ruining everything. You're the one who doesn't belong in this family. I told you, I can't dine with someone as shabby as you. Go home. Wait, what? I have to go home? This dinner was organized by my mother-in-law, and the person ruining it is clearly her. I'll listen to your complaints about me later. I have things to say to you as well, but for now, I had decided to stand my ground, but not now. Don't you dare talk back to me. Didn't you hear me? I said go home. In fact, leave this family. Just as my husband started to approach in response to Sarah's loud voice, the private room's door opened. The one leaving should be you. My mother-in-law entered the room, quietly yet decisively. My father-in-law and their youngest son, John, also entered, and my mother-in-law gently closed the door. What? Sarah, who was fired up, must have remembered where she was and what was happening. She was lost for words, her mouth opening and closing in surprise. What was that about? Everyone, please sit down. Despite her soft voice, there was a compelling force in my mother-in-law that everyone obeyed. It seems we need to have a chat before we can enjoy the birthday celebration. I'm sorry for this interruption. Seeing my father-in-law nod in agreement, my mother-in-law turned back to Sarah. Sarah, what did you say to Karen? Whoa, even my kind-hearted mother-in-law could dish out a strong sarcasm when needed. Sarah, flustered, answered, Oh, just saying I'm looking forward to today's meal. Did I hear wrong? I thought I heard get out. Huh? No, that was a small argument. It was just a joke. She was still somewhat agitated, but I was impressed at how Sarah was trying to regain her usual cheerful demeanor. An argument? What caused it? It seemed you were the one doing all the talking. Have you been bullying Karen like this whole time? She probably heard everything from the door, staring straight at Sarah. I didn't bully her. I was just offering advice on manners and dress as a senior member of this household. That didn't seem like advice, and everyone should be free to wear what they want as long as it's respectful. She wasn't dressed oddly. But wearing non-branded clothes in such a high-end restaurant, her makeup and accessories were minimal. I thought she shouldn't embarrass you and the rest. Enough! My mother-in-law's outburst made me jump, along with Sarah. The three brothers and my father-in-law knew that my mother-in-law was scary when angry. They seemed unfazed by the situation, showing picture books and speaking to the children to distract them. No. Sarah, you're the one who should be embarrassed. I had noticed that something was off about you two, even during gatherings at our house. I initially thought you were having friendly chats. Huh? Friendly? Yes, friendly chats, right? Sarah gave me a desperate look that was completely different from before, but I avoided meeting her gaze. For the record, Karen never snitched on you. You wasted her kindness, hoping you would eventually change. Your attitude only escalated. Well, that's... Stammering, Sarah was met with my mother-in-law's even harsher tone. And you always wear beautiful clothes and have so many purses. Yes, that's true. I always make sure to look presentable wherever I go. Where does the money for that come from? Huh? Just as she thought she could regain the upper hand, an unexpected question made Sarah freeze. That is, of course, from my... We're paying you for helping with the tuition and accounting at the tutoring school. Even if my son said you could use that money freely, it doesn't seem like it would be enough. Your clothes and purses are all designer brands. Well, because... Are you exploiting the fact that you're in charge of the household finances to satisfy your own desires? What do you mean? She stammered. I could see why she's confused. I was curious about the source of their money myself. I had always thought my brother-in-law was just a generous guy. Maybe he just left all the household finances to her. It's concerning to me that he didn't keep a closer eye on their spending. Maybe he trusted her because she acted as a good wife so well. When I think about it like that, I almost feel sorry for him. So, you've been spending money like water, and now you want to send your child to a private school? She asked. You've been setting aside funds for their education, right? What? You're not expecting us to pay, are you? No, not at all, but he's your adorable grandchild after all. Which is it? So she was planning to rely on my father-in-law and mother-in-law's money all along. Of course we love our grandchildren. We're thinking of supporting them financially if necessary, says my mother-in-law. Really? But only after you leave our home. What? No, there's no need for that. I'll apologize to Karen for telling her to leave. Karen? It's the first time she's referred to me by name. You will forgive me, right? We're sisters after all. Sisters? Only while you're married to my brother-in-law. My mother-in-law looks at me as if to sign that I should continue. Even if it's official, I don't want to become family. I don't think of you as a sister. Caught off guard, Sarah let out a weird noise. And that's not all. You've also been dipping into the money from the tutoring school. Sarah was speechless, her eyes wide in shock. Is that true? I was genuinely surprised by my mother-in-law's words. I had expected Sarah to use the household money freely, but I didn't think she would touch the funds from the tutoring school my in-laws run. You were clever enough to not get caught, so it took us a while to figure it out. Even Bob, who's been in charge of our accounts for years, was manipulated by you. Sarah's face turned pale. You were buying gifts like gift baskets for the suppliers of our teaching materials, expressing gratitude to teachers holding seminars, all this shopping under your charge. The amount on the receipts gradually increased. You made excuses that you were asked to give birthday presents, or that the requests came from me or my son. No, that's not. What are you talking about? You bought things other than gift baskets, labeling them as presents. This has never happened before. But it's our son's wife. Bob trusted you. He was told you took part-time lecturers to lunch, but in reality, you were dining and drinking tea with your mom friends. The suspicious receipts gradually increased, and Bob finally came to us. Even before that, my son had started investigating after noticing something strange. What? You betrayed the trust of all those who wanted to believe in you. It seems that dressing up is more important to you than anything else. It's not me, I didn't. Sarah looked at my brother-in-law as if begging for help, with a voice that's almost a whisper. But he just stared back coldly without saying a word. And if all this is true, I can't blame him. Karen is the opposite. Sure, she's not really into fashion, but she always puts herself second and values her family and her job. You seem to not care to know about her work, but being a certified arborist is an impressive qualification. I bet she studied hard for it. Oh. As Sarah was left speechless and utterly defeated, my mother-in-law suddenly started talking about me. Unconsciously, I felt a warmth welling up in my eyes. I respect her, thinking that if she wanted to continue her work, we should support her. Have you ever seen her working lively, not caring if her clothes get dirty or her hands are covered in soil? And you make fun of her? I was teary-eyed and silent, and Sarah was unable to make any excuses or act anymore. She just hung her head low. Our tutoring school may not match the major corporations, but we value our teachers and students and have earned their trust. We've grown little by little by addressing each student's individual issues and those of their families. What's important is people and hearts. You are the one that doesn't belong here. You are the one who should leave." My mother-in-law, who had declared it so clearly, was truly awesome. After that, Sarah, who had been pretending to be a perfect, elegant wife, was forced to leave her wealthy family. My brother-in-law attempted to have a discussion, but Sarah, who refused to acknowledge her faults and was very angry, was served with divorce papers. Now that the embezzlement has been revealed, she won't be able to get any compensation, and she has nothing left. My brother-in-law will keep the custody of their son, and with the help of my father-in-law and mother-in-law, he will maintain their normal life. Sarah, who always put herself first, would take her anger out on her son when things didn't go her way. But the young boy nodded firmly at his father and grandparents' words of, "It'll be okay." The desire to send him to a private elementary school was Sarah's wish, but he apparently disliked being forced to study. These days, he's freely playing with our daughter. Of course, my husband and I intend to help in any way we can. On a leisurely day spent together at my in-laws' house, my mother-in-law approached me and said, "I'm really sorry for making you uncomfortable for so long. We should have noticed sooner." "No, not at all. I wasn't really bothered at first." "If you ever need anything in the future, don't hesitate to tell us." "Yes." As I said that, I remembered my mother-in-law's words. What's important is people and hearts. Maybe because I was staring at her, my mother-in-law looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Haha, it's nothing. I was just thinking how cool you are." "Well, thank you. But the cool one is you, being able to create such beautiful gardens. Maybe I should ask you to help with ours next time. I want to replant the flower bed." "Oh, absolutely. I would love to do it, even if it's not for work. Just let me know whenever." "You should charge her. Mom can be quite demanding." My husband chimed in with a playful comment, and we all laughed together. Value people, cherish hearts. I'll make sure to remember that. I hope to spend more time laughing with my precious family in the future. I'm Lila, a 45-year-old who had given up on marriage. I married Keith, who I met after turning 40, and a year ago we opened a bar. I met my husband Keith at a bar I just happened to stop by at. From that time, Keith was visiting various places in preparation for opening our own bar. He said he fell in love with me at first sight because of my hearty drinking style. For the first time, I thought it was good to be a heavy drinker. We started dating and got married in 6 months. Both of us being adults, we didn't have much conflict and are still on good terms. Thanks to our good relationship, we've gained a lot of regular customers. The bar is doing well, and I'd like to say we have no worries, but the problem is my brother Oswald and his wife Kristen, who live nearby, coming to our bar. Every day they come by, and it's really annoying. "Thanks for the free meal. Oh, I'm stuffed. But hey, cook faster next time and bring it over quickly." Oswald, chewing on a toothpick, said this as he ate with Kristen, who suddenly blurted out, "This is Ray, our son. He's a troublemaker, so you raise him," she said, bringing the nephew they brought along in front of us. "See ya, and don't come back, Ray. We'll send your stuff over to their place." Ray was teary-eyed. Understandable, since he's only 10. "What the heck? Ray's just 10. Are you abandoning your child?" I asked, and Kristen sighed, laughing as she answered. "Well, Ray doesn't listen and acts like a punk. I'm pregnant with a second child, so we're giving away the defective one, the real bad product." What a thing to say in front of her own child. Before I could get angry, Keith spoke up. "All right, Ray, from today, I'm your dad. Come here." This is why I fell for Keith, his straightforwardness. I also turned to Ray. "All right, and I'm happy to say I'm your mom now. Come here." Soon after, we legally adopted him, and Ray became our child. With Keith's advice, we paid Oswald and Kristen $10,000 along with the formal paperwork. This was to prevent any future troubles with the biological parents. 10 years passed and Ray turned 20. Since then, we banned Oswald and Kristen from our shop and home, so we didn't know each other's whereabouts. Our business flourished, and we even owned multiple stores. That day, as the shop settled down, the door opened.
"Whoa, you guys are thriving. You're like celebrities,"
Oswald said as he walked in. Kristen, appearing from behind, spotted Ray and immediately called out, "Hey, Ray, we're going home, come on." I was dumbfounded. Did they have no common sense? But Ray calmly said, "This is my home, my parents are here, and you guys should leave." He continued working without looking at them. Ray was working at this bar. "What are you talking about? Your home is our apartment." "No, that's messed up. The adoption was finalized 10 years ago." "Do they not remember?" I continued. "You abandoned Ray, calling him a bad kid, but it was just because of you. He's actually a great, honest kid." Ray had been a bad kid, but changed after meeting someone in middle school. He had many conflicts with his friends then, but now they support him. He graduated high school and went to vocational school. It was a culinary school. "I'm determined to carry on Dad's flavors," he would say. "The last 10 years were tough, but I have no regrets. I'm proud to have become his real parent." Oswald and Kristen, after abandoning him, now claim they've come to take him back. Unforgivable.
"What do you mean? We're Ray's biological parents. We can do what we want with Ray."
"How many times do we have to tell you he's officially our son now?" Oswald stunned.
"No way. That's invalid, Ray. That was a promise made 10 years ago."
"It's not just a verbal promise. Legally, we're his parents." I showed them the adoption papers I had stored by the register in the event something like this ever happened, complete with proof of payment. As he took them, Oswald smirked and tore the paper.
"There, now it's invalid. You fell for my plan."
"I thought you might do that. That's a copy. I wouldn't give you the original." Shaken, Oswald said,
"What? Talking back to your brother like that?"
"You should be grateful we came to pick you up." Ray, not looking at them, said, "No, I didn't ask for this, so why should I be grateful? My parents are, Lila's my mom and Keith's my dad." While blushing, I felt like crying, but now wasn't the time. I'll have him say it again later. "Is it even okay for you to be here at this hour? Didn't you say 10 years ago that you were pregnant with a second child? Who's taking care of him or her now?" I had a bad feeling, but Kristen replied, "That kid turned bad too, probably out playing with friends now." Unbelievable. No love for your own children? I end up speaking in a strong tone.
"So we came to take Ray back, thinking of swapping the kids. You guys can raise our second child, right? Cool with you?"
These people are unfit for parenting. Ray's an adult now, so it's up to him, but let us take the other child too.
"Really? Okay. This time it's $50K.
I couldn't believe how disgusting my brother's words were, as if he was only after the money, probably planning to snatch Ray's earnings. Then, unexpectedly, "I'll pay the money, please take my brother too." "Dad, sorry for the trouble," Ray said. And so, we adopted his brother too. Keith initially offered to pay the $50K. "Dad, this is my responsibility. Please let me handle it as a man." And he refused. Keith respected Ray's decision as an adult. The brother Kay was more of a handful than Ray. At 10, he stayed out late and didn't trust adults. With Ray's former friend's help, Ray turned out great, but raising another troubled child at this age was hard. Yet we respected Ray's wishes. A year later, the police visited our bar, saying there was a report of us kidnapping children. They came to check due to the nature of the complaint. Our regular customers defended us, saying it was unbelievable. We proved our innocence, and the police left quickly. Oswald and Kristen got a scolding from them. They deserved it for such a nuisance. Lately, the bar's been bustling thanks to Ray and Kay. In the middle of this, such harassment was truly bothersome. While writing the day's report after closing, the door opened. Shoot, I forgot to lock it. I had a bad feeling. Oswald came straight over.
"Whoa, you're making even more money, thanks to our sons, right?"
"How did you find that out? They're none of your business now." Kristen let out a sigh. "Can you believe Kay has over 10K followers on his streaming videos?
We're taking him back today.
That's not it. The videos of Ray and Kay cooking are popular because of their skills, not thanks to you. As Kristen looked for her sons, she continued.
I gave birth to handsome boys. It's thanks to me. If you don't comply, we have plans. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Then they left and the brothers came out. What are they planning? Maybe we should make them understand with force. No, I'll handle it, Ray. The brothers discussed. Keith, standing behind them, tapped their shoulders. The two looked back. You are children now. Don't cross any boundaries. They reluctantly obeyed, but Oswald and Kristen escalated their harassment. Our online reviews were tampered with. It was likely Oswald. That bar uses expired ingredients, or they hire bad guys to intimidate customers, were among the accusations. Some comments refuted them, but the issue wasn't settled. We received many prank calls and group cancellations. Such petty harassment was really troublesome. After enduring this for half a year, Oswald and Kristen came by. Hey, aren't you going to close the shop? So stubborn. These were their first words, utterly frustrating. Give back our sons already. They're good money. You both still haven't changed, huh? This was all you guys, right? Oswald replied jokingly as always. What are you talking about? Just give them back. The boys are not objects. Go home now. Oswald handed over a paper saying something outrageous. We're opening a bar, and they're going to work for us. The paper was a loan agreement and a business plan. I wondered if any bank would lend on such a flimsy plan. Oswald, where did you borrow this money from? Isn't this risky? It's fine. Ray can pay if anything goes wrong. The lender was clearly shady, with bizarre interest rates. The situation would cause trouble for Ray and Kay.
It seems as though the online impact is huge. A friend of mine canceled after seeing the reviews.
No wonder we hardly got new customers. It's you guys causing trouble. Kristen feigned ignorance.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's no proof. Maybe the health department will come next. If you don't want that, why don't you help with the financing?
Now they're even resorting to threats. I should have recorded this conversation. The situation will surely affect Ray and Kay. Though I'm not familiar with social media, I'm sure they're trolling their streaming activities too. We won't let anything interfere with Ray and Kay's activities. But proving anonymous actions as theirs is difficult. These are such convenient times for bad guys too. Justice only prevails in movies and fiction.
Today we brought someone with us. Come in.
A man with a fake smile appeared behind Oswald and Kristen, his eyes not laughing. He's not a normal person. Definitely not just a troublemaker. Hello, I'm Robbie. I'm the one who financed this. Clearly, he wants to ensure his money is repaid. Robbie, smiling, surveyed the bar, probably checking for security cameras. He's more experienced than Kristen. After checking the cameras, he made a veiled threat. We just want the money back. Can you bring your sons as guarantors? Ray and Kay, once delinquents, were trembling in the back. It's natural to be scared. I resolved to protect them when suddenly... Hold on. Keith, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. First, Robbie, my sons aren't guarantors, so collect the debt from Oswald. What? Are you mocking us? Do you know who we're working for? Keith removed his apron and replied. Yeah, I know. Jonathan, right? Doesn't he know about me? Robbie's face turned pale as he stared at Keith. Are you the Keith who used to be on par with Jonathan? Everyone was shocked. We couldn't imagine gentle Keith being involved in such a past. I can't believe that such a kind person was once a delinquent. Later, I learned he wasn't really a troublemaker. He just became known for defending himself from the bad guys. Still, he had contributed to peace in the area, resolving conflicts of others. Robbie's face lit up with admiration. Hey, Robbie, connect me to Jonathan. Robbie hurriedly made the call, and Keith turned on the speakerphone. Hey, Robbie, what took you so long? Hey, Jonathan, you still doing this kind of stuff? After a pause, Jonathan replied. Oh, whoa, is that you, Keith? Why are you on Robbie's phone? I'm dealing with this Oswald issue. He's my wife's brother. Jonathan sighed. I'll take a step back for you, Keith. No, just remove the guarantors and keep the interest within legal limits. Oswald and Kristen paled with relief. Jonathan, quit this business. If you start a normal job, let's have a meal. All right, I'll consider it. Time to move on. The call ended. Next, Oswald and you. I filed a disclosure request. How can you do that with anonymous actions? Keith calmly placed several papers on the table. Laws change. Disclosure requests are easier now. You should have remembered you registered on public Wi-Fi and not your cell phone. Oswald realized his mistake. Kristen blurted out in panic.
Oswald, you idiot. I told you to be careful. I was smart using overseas servers.
Realizing her slip-up, but defiant, she scoffed.
There's no proof. Being caught here doesn't matter.
Then Robbie tapped Kristen's shoulder, pointing up. The security camera caught everything, and Kristen's eyes met the camera's. Keith, Lila, I'm sorry for everything. I'm leaving now. Sorry to you too. Rain, okay? I'll just go. With that, they left. Perhaps losing their backup, Oswald abandoned his wife and fled to the restroom, only to return with a mop. He then smashed the security camera. Now there's no evidence. Serves you right. However, Ray played his final card. Too bad. This whole thing was live-streamed on Kay's channel. Dad told us not to film Robbie, so we only shot you two. That was what Robbie had mentioned earlier. I was surprised by Keith's foresight. The screen Ray and Kay showed displayed the damaged shop and Oswald. Kay then spoke.
Thousands of people watch my broadcast. It may seem fake, but I won't stop. These are our biological parents. We became delinquents because of them.
Indeed, I knew their story. Oswald and Kristen rarely came home and didn't pay for school, leading Kay to truancy. It was the same reason Ray became a delinquent. Anyone in their situation would struggle to grow up right. When we took them in, they were thin and haggard. They cried when we first fed them. It's heartbreaking that not all children get such basic care. Tearfully, Kay confronted them. When I was abandoned for being a delinquent, Ray, Dad, especially Mom, saved me. I consider her my real mom. Ray always brags, Mom and Dad are our real parents. Hey, you don't have to mention everything. Ray blushed. We never knew he felt that way, and I was moved to tears. Keith was crying hard. Anyway, we're cutting ties completely. I hope you get caught. If you disturb Mom, Dad, or Kay again, we won't hold back. Then Oswald's phone rang. Apparently, his boss saw the broadcast and was furious. Oswald was apologizing. Kristen's phone was ringing nonstop too. She sat down in despair. We filed charges for property damage, defamation, and business interference. Ultimately, Jonathan settled the payments in full as a settlement. He did this to ensure he'd get his loaned money back, as arrest would hinder repayment. Maybe arrest would have been better for them. Oswald got fired for abuse exposure, and Kristen, shunned by friends who saw Kay's broadcast, lost all her close relationships. The influencer power was frightening. With no one else, they turned to Jonathan. They were set far out in the countryside for hard labor, likely until retirement. A bad choice of reliance. Keith said, Jonathan's unforgiving as an enemy, but reliable as a comrade. He probably sent them far as a favor to us. I'll invite him to our shop. That's what he said. Jonathan was selective, dealing legally except with such trashy people. Not that it justifies his actions, but he helped us. Our son's channel became famous after the broadcast, spreading their story of brotherly love. Both of them being handsome, they attracted fans to our shop. Their old delinquent friends, inspired by the broadcast, have become better people and now visit or work at our bar. The area became safe, with all the delinquents gone. They found purpose through work, no longer needing to be delinquents. Ray became the main shop's manager and some of his friends, managers of branches. Our shop became known nationwide. It's a reminder to ponder why someone becomes a delinquent, understanding their reasons. You realize they're just like us at birth. Today, Keith and I work alongside everyone once again.